Scott Hurst is standing by with more for us this morning. So, Scott, what do we know about Air Canada's plans moving forward? Let's focus, first of all, on the flight schedule.
Yeah, this is the first full day where flights are now back in the air. But as you mentioned, the backlog continues, and there will be likely many more cancellations over the next 7 to 10 days as the timeline Air Canada gave for getting its full service back up and running. And if we're looking at the global flight tracking website, FlightAware, there are more than 200 flights between Air Canada and Air Canada Rouge that are showing to be canceled on the global flight tracking website, with Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver showing to have the most cancellations. As you might expect, that also has to do with the volume of flights that are leaving from those 3 major airports here in Canada. And as you mentioned, it could take more than a week to get back to full operations, partly because most of the fleet was returned to Canada, was returned to domestic airports when the strike began, so that they weren't stuck overseas at other international airports. And so all of the planes, after sitting idle for several days, have to undergo engine and safety checks before they're cleared to fly. So that will play a part in the number of cancellations that we might continue to see over the next several days. Here's more from Air Canada's Chief Operations Officer on the overall restart and what it means to get customers back in the air.
Every customer is important. And of course, now we're deeply apologetic for what's going on. We understand the impact, the profound impact that this has had. We're going to do everything possible to get people home as quickly as we can.
So the first focus, Marcia, in restarting was on the international network, as we heard from the Chief Operations Officer, because of the larger complexity of the crew rest component, where they had to get those flights out. And so now, today, the main focus will be on the on the North American market, the domestic and North American market, to get a whole bunch of those planes ramped up to the normal schedule. And Air Canada is saying it has mobilized some 5,000 co-workers to focus on the rebooking process for customers as well. As you said, that is a huge component here, getting through this big backlog.
And of course, customers are reacting, and not positively, to all the frustrations that they've had to go through, not to mention how expensive it is to try to get another flight.
Yeah, first and foremost, it would be a big sigh of relief, of course, the fact that planes are now back in the air for customers. That is a good sign, but there are still a lot of frustrated customers because it has, as we've heard from so many customers over the last several days, there's been first a big problem trying to get through with that massive backlog of everyone trying to get their flights rebooked or to get the refunds. And so there's been first a significant frustration with just getting a hold of someone to figure out the next steps. And now there are so many people trying to figure out how to get on canceled flights or how to get on other flights. But as you mentioned, and as we heard from some of the passengers that we've spoken with over the past couple of days, they're noticing other options are also incredibly expensive. So for passengers, of course, it is a relief that the airline is flying again and they can start moving passengers around the country and around the world again. But passengers have been stuck with a whole lot of frustration, being stuck on the phone for a long time, not getting enough answers from the airline, and also now finding out that other options are costing a whole lot of money, Marcia.
Yeah, buying 2 tickets. All right. Thanks for that, Scott.